Welcome to Moments with Marianne. This is your host, Marianne Pastana. We're here today with special guest, Cathleen Beerkens, who's here to share with us her new book, Your Creator Matrix: How to Use Optimal Wellness and Quantum Healing to Master Your Story and Create Your Reality. What if the fears, traumas, and limiting beliefs stored in your body are the very things shaping your reality? You probably want to change that, wouldn't you? Well, today's guest is here to share with us just that. Cathleen Beerkens is a dedicated health professional, holds degrees from the University of Maryland and Georgetown University, with over 12 years of diverse experience at Georgetown University Medical Center. So welcome to the show, Cathleen Beerkens.
Oh, thank you, Marianne. Thank you for having me.
Well, what an honor it is to have you here and to talk about this book. What even inspired you to write this?
This is a good question. Actually, I know this sounds crazy, but I've always had a really strong connection to source or God or whatever you want to say. If people have all kinds of names. I just felt I had been doing research for many years. I had been working on holistic health. First, I was a nurse, by the way. I worked in all fields of nursing at Georgetown University. I was teaching. I was just seeing all the problems in the system. I have all doctors in my family, a lot of medical people, my grandfather, so many uncle, and my son now. So I literally am, I believed in the system until I didn't. And it's not that I don't believe in the system at all. I do believe, but I think we're in a big time of change. And I felt like I really felt frustrated in the hospital that people showed up so ill, so out of balance, and they had no idea that they were. So that just kind of disturbed me. I was a young woman and I kept seeing it over and over again for many years. I left nursing almost in like the worst burnout after 2 children. I talk a little bit about that in my book. We all have our story, right? So I wrote this book later after I had started a Wellness Revolution, which is an organization, and we train coaches holistically at a very high level to help with the changes right now that are happening in the medical system. And one of those being that we know that doctors are overworked and very specific and don't necessarily have the time with their patients to really help them make tremendous changes. And in a world of change that we're in, which is a lot of change, right, Marianne? We're asked to do a lot. We need help with that. So I felt that I could train them with all my knowledge, holistically helping people heal, because after nursing, I help people heal. I don't want to say I was a healer. I want to say I help people heal themselves. I was a facilitator of this, physically, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually. And after all those years of research and helping people on all those levels, I felt compelled to write the course. And then I felt in the time of COVID, I would start writing this book to write down my knowledge. It isn't an easy task. I worked on it 5 years and I put it out. It was published last spring. And I've been busy ever since, of course, promoting it, trying to help people understand the message. And it's a mission for me.
It definitely sounds like such a life calling. And I love how you talk about the idea of consciously creating our own story. So, what does it mean to be a creator?
Yeah, so this is kind of amazing, right? That we actually are starting to wake up to the reality of who we are. There is a tremendous shift in consciousness, and people are like, what is consciousness? Well, consciousness is what we can see, our awareness. And obviously, we've hit this information age where we're seeing a lot more, and we're starting to question what is real and what is not. This is a big part of our development and growth of consciousness. So what does that mean? That means that old belief systems or things we truly believed in, we're starting to now say, oh, is this true for me? Does this even belong to me? Why do I believe this? And so when you asked me the question, we are creating our life stories, I think many of us, on some level, we know we influence our reality, but it's becoming more clear through the new sciences how this happens. And so when we're open to understand this, we can really start to change our life through understanding these principles of how we, and I say co-creator because we create, not we're not alone, right? We have a lot of people around us, and we have source, and we have God, or whatever. We create through many ways, but we have to understand that we can influence our future. We can influence our future self. We can change if we don't like our stories, which many people, they don't like some part of their story, let's be honest. We can ask ourselves, okay, so what part of our story would we like to change? And then we can start to say, okay, how do I do that? And we can ask those questions, and that is powerful.
So, when we own our creatorship, how will this change our lives?
Yeah, so once we realize that our thoughts, for instance, are very powerful, particularly our subconscious thoughts, those beliefs that we might not really be like realize are influencing us. And I'll give an example in a minute, but we have beliefs and belief systems. We all do. We believe things. It doesn't mean they're true for us. And we create our lives around these beliefs. Thoughts are real. Thoughts, according to quantum physics, we're seeing that thoughts they don't look real, right? We don't see things coming out from our head visually. But I know, since I've worked with energy, I can feel the energy of a person, their biofield. I can feel, their aura. Some people call it the aura. But what we can pick up on is that a thought is actually what we call a scalar wave. It actually exists in a reality not that we can see with our eyes, but with certain instruments we can pick up this frequency, sort of like a radio wave. So you could say you are like a broadcaster of information that is going out to a field, and we call that field source or God or whatever you want to call it. And that field then starts to organize the actual nature of reality to bring to you what you want to create. And this is really hard for people to swallow. Why is that? Because we haven't been trained this way. We've been trained that we're kind of a victim. We don't have any power. Things just happen. Tough luck. You get bad luck. All these books in my time were like, just bad things happen. Oh, well. Or this happens, oh well. Now, granted, some things just happen, like, COVID, and that's a collective creation, let's say. So some things are not in your deliberate creative mode, and that's where it gets complicated. But I think it's really important for us now to understand that we, as individual people, can, through our thoughts, our emotions, and our words and our visions, create a different reality. And this takes practice. This is not something that, okay, I get it, and tomorrow my whole life changed. And that's the illusion. We need to really do some things to prepare ourselves for this new way of living.
So, what does it mean by the term your creator matrix? What is that?
Yeah. So your creator matrix, a matrix is a structure. And, we live in structures. Our world is created in structures. Look, the governments, the educational systems, the healthcare system, all the systems are structures. Even in our home, we create a structure or ways of living, right? We have a place that's a bedroom, a place that's a kitchen. Everything has its purpose. So a structure is like a matrix. It's a place where something is organized to experience a certain reality. So we always hear of the matrix falling, or the bad matrix, or, oh my God, you're in the matrix, get out of the matrix. This is very common now, these terms. That is quite negative, referring to the old structures that they need to change. But actually, to be quite honest with you, if we want to create a new world or a new way of thinking or a new educational system or a new healthcare system or anything, and we want to change and make the changes that are going to happen, we need a new matrix. And your creator matrix is how you create your reality through your body, mind, spirit, emotional complex. So you are not just a body. And that's the thing. We think, I mean, I know when I was young, we were kind of like thinking, many of us, oh, we just have a body and we have a spirit, but we were more looking at it differently. I think we have to all agree that we are a spiritual being at this point, having a temporary human experience in a body. And so when we get that, oh gosh, yeah, we have this, we're actually an energetic field in a body. What does that mean? How can we, how does that work? What is the, how important is it? And this is what I've learned in healing for our body, our mind, and our spirit and emotions to be in alignment and in harmony for us to create the world and the life we dream of. Well, I believe through my research and all the work I've done, helping people heal, if we just focus on one of them, it's fine. Like many people work on their health through their body, or they work on their health through, finding their divine purpose, or they work on their health through, emotional regulation, or, all the things they can be doing now. It's all perfect. You begin where you begin. But what I see true health and well being, what is that? It's when all aspects of ourselves are in harmony with each other. So we don't have blockages. We don't carry a lot of emotional baggage. We don't have a lot of toxicity on the physical level. We don't have, we're eating well. We're building proper structures of our cells. We are thinking positive thoughts, which create a positive reality. We, imagine if all of those parts of us are in harmony and thriving, well, what would the world look like?
That would be a wonderful place, right?
Yeah, we have to keep believing.
Oh my goodness. Well, and I know you've touched on this a little bit, but I'd love for you to dive into the science behind manifesting because I think a lot of people may not be really aware of that.
Yeah, so even some people my age don't even know what the word manifesting means because we were just not trained in this. I mean, to be honest with you, it was, as I said, it wasn't in our reality. Most of the time in the 60s when I was born, I would say that it was sort of like a time of like rebellion where the old structures started to fall, people started rebelling against it, but we really didn't actually realize, I mean, mainstream for sure not. So, what is manifesting? Manifesting is when we can bring into our reality what we would like to bring into our reality, whatever that is. We are here to experience things. Life is about experience. And we've been and it's rather complicated, but we've been in a kind of dualistic system till now, which is very, the good and the bad, the dark and the light, the male, the female. We've been in duality. So we've been able to experience things through opposition. But now we're getting to a point in this world where we can start to say, oh, I think I'm done with that story. I don't really need to be, in the dark in this kind of, I don't need to, what I believe, we don't have to focus on what we don't want. We have to focus on what we do want, because what we realize through this scientific process that I'm going to explain right now is that what we think about and what we focus on expands. And I've seen it over and over again. When people focus on a positive outcome, they really believe, they feel it. Let's say in a relationship, the relationship either isn't going to make it and it falls away, and then they attract a new relationship, or the relationship actually starts to change. And I've seen that too for the positive. Like it starts to, some of the blockages that were between the two people start to fall away and the people start to heal. So that's just one example, but there's so many. We can talk about creating your reality with your physical body. We can say, you create your reality on all levels, your body, your mind, your spirit, and your emotions, but these all affect all aspects of your life. So your career, your relationships, your home life, your physical being. All of it influences each other. So when you say, what is the creative process? What I believe, and I've seen, it starts with thoughts and focus. So, what are you focusing on, and what is behind the fears, the worries, the all the things that are triggers for you? So, for instance, if you're out and you would like a different, let's say, career, you want to change your job. It's not serving you. You're done. You really need a change. Well, sometimes what we have to do is we first have to say goodbye and release the old. That is not always the way, but sometimes it is because we're focusing so much on the old career that we're not putting enough energy and focus on what we really want from this career. So for some people, they will have to leave their old career to be able to start focusing and visualizing what they really want to do. What is it that would bring them passion? What is it that would bring them joy? Where are they using their talents right now, right? The world's changing so fast, Marianne. We are losing our jobs. We are needing to think differently. We are needing to be trained in new ways. So it requires us to really focus on what we want. So when you really go inside, ask yourself, what is it that I'm here to do? What is it that would bring me joy? What is it that would bring me passion and fulfillment and a real calling? And when you start asking those questions to yourself, you start to figure out, oh gosh, this job right now is not right. This career, I have to do some changes. I need some more education. I need whatever. And then you start focusing on that. And then the more you focus, and I tell you how it works. It's so interesting. When I did this many years ago, and I had been helping people heal, but I knew there was something more. I knew I had to do something more. So I went in and I said, okay, what is it that would really bring me purpose and calling? And suddenly I had this experience where I was really like shown that I would be teaching in big groups and really helping people on a different level. Well, this required for me to make a lot of changes at that time. I had to do more education. I had to really make these steps. But the minute I made the choice, the minute I jumped in the new and I said, okay, I'm all in, I'm going to do this. I started writing a course. I started changing. I started getting information to me about accreditations that I needed for this course. It just I know it sounds crazy, but either people popped up in my life that told me about these accreditations or they started popping in my mailbox. It was kind of interesting when I look back. Now, the question is, was I paying attention? Sometimes, like not right away, but after a while, I started paying attention. So I was kind of directed and guided towards where I am today when I really tuned in. But I had to make the choice of what I was going to focus on and that I was going to focus on something different. See, that's a big step, don't you think? That first initial change, I'm going to change.
That's such a huge step in making the decision to really manifest a life of purpose.
Yeah. So that's just one example. Of course, we could change anything. We could change relationships. We could change how we are in a relationship. We could change the health of our physical body, the emotional health of our lives. There's so much change that we can make, right? It's not just one thing. And that's what is so unique and beautiful about people that they want to change. They might want to change one part, and then it usually leads to other parts. Because before I made that big career change, I had been working on my physical health. I had been working on my children's health. I had been learning a lot about healing and health so that I could be able to teach these things and also write this book. So imagine that. So you have to you have to be kind of patient too, in a way.
Can you explain for us the cycle of creation?
Yeah. So imagine you have a thought and your thought is, I would like this house. I would like a new house. That's the thought. You put that in the field. You start to feel it. Like, you believe it or not, you start to imagine that you have the house. What would that house look like? What would it feel like? What would it make you feel? What would it what would it bring to you? Would you have a garden that would you plant flowers? You get very specific. Would you have what color would your bedroom be? Would you have a bathroom? What would it look like? What would your kitchen look like? And you just start to make a visual in your heart and your mind and you feel it. And every day you don't spend too much time. I say you just have a vision and you drop it. You don't push it. You don't have to know how it's going to come. You don't, that's the difference. We used to think it was linear, so we had to do all this work. It was going to be hard. We had to work for 30 years to get that house. Now we realize, no, 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 it doesn't work like that. We're in a new multidimensional reality, so it's not linear. So what we do is we just think a thought, but we feel it as if it already happened and we drop it. And I call it dropping it in the field. And I use a term in my book, oven, and I call it oven of grace. And the reason I say it like that is so that everyone understands, an oven is a place we cook, right? We cook things. Now, when you're cooking something, you don't have to like do it, right? You don't have to go in the oven and every minute watch what's happening with it. You put it in, you trust, and you check it once in a while, and that's it. So it's the same with this. So you want that new house, you feel that new house, and every day you just feel it and you just, again, check in with the oven and drop it and let it just sit there. And the weird thing is, I know this sounds crazy, but the more you are in contact with that, the more you focus on it, but not pushing it, just allowing, it'll be amazing what happens. Because I've seen it over and over again with people and this process. So, what is happening? Let's talk about the science. You are dropping it in a field, this thought. This thought is going to the soul plane, where we call it the universal field. This universal field is picking up its data, its information, it's aligning data and information in the form of plasma. We now know that. There's plasma in this field. It's like a soup, you could say. And it stimulates that soup to come into physical reality. So it's not in physical reality. That plasma is more in another realm, which we can't see with our eyes. We can feel it. So I help people with energy work. I can feel those frequencies. If any of you work with energy, you know what I'm talking about. But the field is an energetic field. So it goes there first. That's the soul phase, the soul plane. Then it goes lower and it starts to get into this plasma. And then eventually it starts to come into the physical emotional plane. And when it does that, you start to see things like I saw in my email, these accreditation invitations showing up, and I had to take action. So it's not like that's the mistake about the law of attraction. You suddenly just get everything in your basket. No, you get things, but you have to recognize, oh, wow, this is happening. Okay, I need to do this. So you have to feel like this is the job or this is the house, or I'm going to actually, I have a story. I have a story about my brother. He owns a big restaurant. And when we were young, it started with a thought. He said, we were in New York City, and he said, I'm going to own this restaurant one day. He was 27. Years later, he started getting invitations to apply to see if he could apply to be the owner of this restaurant. They just started coming to him, and he took action, and he had to, really work at it, but he got it. So I was like, I thought to myself, now remember when you were 27 and you said that to me? That's so funny. So that's an example, Marian, that you have a thought, you wait for things to show up, and now they're showing up much faster than they used to. If anyone's in this process, and you have to trust, by the way, when things are in the oven, you don't try to control it because that won't work. Because control means I don't trust.
Well, that's a mic drop moment, and that really puts things in perspective because usually we want to keep messing with it and thinking about it and try to make it better. But that trust thing, what a huge factor that is.
Yeah, it's huge because it's not like my brother was like, I'm going to get that restaurant and I have to control it for 30 years till it shows up. No, divine timing, trust, and then it showed up. But I think today in the energy we're in today, things can go much quicker. Honestly, I've seen people have a thought and it manifests immediately. Not always, but it can go fast. So you have to really be, if you're in this creator mode, you have to really be paying attention and trusting that these things will come to you.
There's so many questions I want to ask. I'm sure you get this all the time. I think one of the things is I understand that there is, yeah, I mean, we have consciousness and we go through this quantum leap in our consciousness to create and manifest the life that we want. Can you explain how that works? Because I think sometimes there's a disconnect when people think about our consciousness versus making a quantum leap in consciousness.
Yeah, so consciousness is basically that you can see, you have a certain awareness in your realm. I want to say one thing right now. We have a very stressed out world, and just stress alone decreases consciousness, okay? So if we're in stress, busy, 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 always in yang energy, always on the move, always, we just cannot see much. It decreases our ability to have increased consciousness. So we do see some problem here, right? This is a problem in the world right now. So consciousness is what we can see, the possibilities, the the amount of, well, you can imagine that our consciousness is being reflected in our outside technological advancements. So look at the last 3 years. We say our consciousness has expanded. Just look at AI. How much faster we can get data, we can see things, we can make conclusions versus look at my day. Think about me going in a library trying to find out something back in the 1970s or 80s when I had to just go in a library and say, I'm doing research on geology or whatever. I'd like to look up rocks or whatever. Maybe, I don't know. I wasn't doing that, but let's say I was doing that. Well, I had to go to the section in the library, just hope somebody wrote something that was true or not true and trust it. Today, you can just get information in 1 second on AI, learn all that, and then you're on to the next thing. So we're in an information age, right? So our consciousness is expanding quickly. Our ability to see things, understand things, that is a natural right now. However, we need to be in the state to receive. If we're all, like I said, stressed out, exhausted, we can't handle that. We're not able to take in new things. So, what does this mean? This means that we need to learn how to take care of ourselves in this age we're in and balance ourselves because we have a lot of stimulation. We don't need more of that. Most people have a lot. Let's be honest. We have too much. So, what do we need? We need to do things that reduce and balance that overstimulated state. And then we will have an ability to be open for this growth in consciousness because right now, the way the world is, we're not doing that very well.
So, we bring this full circle? Because I'd like to talk about how we can upgrade our DNA and how this affects our health at the cellular level.
Okay. So you understand the idea of stress and the harmful effects of that on the body and how we don't see everything we can see. Because you asked me about consciousness. I want to just finish that first. So if you can imagine, we don't have a conscious, we're not able to think a different thought because we're seriously overwhelmed with our thoughts. So we have to do things we have to make efforts right now to self-care. We have to make efforts to become more inner yin, calm. These are things like breathing techniques, yoga, exercise, quiet time, walks in nature. I could go on and on, but there's so many things we have to do every day. And everyone listening, no one's going to do it for you. Like you have to do it. So if you start to take these practices of self-care, what we see is that our DNA is it's a living library, actually. And we inherit on our DNA lots of not just diseases. I mean, that's what we've been taught, right? But we inherit a lot of good things too. We inherit like if our grandfather was like a military guy or something and he had a lot of courage, that comes through the DNA. I mean, you know how it is when you look at a little baby and you're like, wow, he's just like Uncle blah blah. You can see things good and in duality, right? We can see the negative and the positive coming through, not just your eye color. So we're realizing that the living library of DNA has mega information that can manifest through the genes. The thing about it is, what we're realizing is that we used to think genes were like stagnant, like they were literally like fixed. But what we're realizing now is that through this creator matrix that we've been given, which is actually, I'm going to describe it like a web of light and energy and information that we can, through our thoughts and emotions and feelings, change our DNA, which is crazy. Like, we never could believe that, right? We were taught you can't change your brain, you can't change your DNA. It is tough luck. You got what you got. But what we're realizing is that this web, this matrix is listening to us. You're creating through it, you're creating with it. So the DNA is sort of a library, and epigenetics, which is a new science I talk about in the book, is showing us that we have power to influence our gene expression. We have power to influence what genes will get turned on and turned off. And this is very powerful in what we're realizing now today about creating wellness, or create a happy life, the life of our dreams, or creating the opposite.
Well, my goodness, Kathleen, you're such an inspiration. I just love your book, Your Creator Matrix. Where can our listeners connect with you and be part of your community and learn more about your work?
Great. So they can reach me at wellnessrevolution.com. We offer courses to train health coaches holistically at the highest level with the highest accreditations. So if somebody's listening and they really want to change their life, we're starting a course in September. We do it every 6 months. And then afterwards, you can either get ICF, International Coach Federation, or the National Board of Health and Wellness Coaching, which are the top bodies of health coaching accreditations in the world. So that's one. And they can also buy the book, Your Creator Matrix, through Amazon.
Well, Kathleen, thank you so much for taking the time to be on the show with us here today.
Thank you, Marianne. It was lovely, and lovely to meet you.
Well, we're at the end of our time today. I'd like to thank everyone for tuning in. You've been listening to Moments with Marianne, where we make every moment count.
In a single moment, your life can change. Moments with Marianne is a transformative hour that covers an endless array of topics with the best of the best. Her guests are leaders in their fields, ranging from inspirational authors, top industry leaders, and business and spiritual entrepreneurs. Each guest is gifted and a true visionary, a recognized leader in her own work, and while teaching others to develop, refocus, and grow, Marianne will bring the best guest and sometimes a special surprise. Don't miss this. You never know just which moment will change your life forever. Make sure to tune in and visit momentswithmarianne.com for more information.